If I hadn't turned off my camera that night, I might still think Malcolm was my friend. But I did turn it off. Mid-toast, actually, because the maid of honor was crying so hard she couldn't get through "You Are My Sunshine," and the videographer's elbow had drifted into my frame. I lowered my D850, drank half a glass of bad Chardonnay, and missed the one shot that would have made the next 6 months obvious. Instead, Malcolm won Documentary Wedding Photo of the Year with the shot I took 30 seconds later. His name on the credit, my serial number in the metadata. The newsletter came on a Tuesday morning, between a lens rental receipt and a dentist reminder I was still pretending not to see. The subject line was cheerful in that industry way that always sounds like it was written by someone holding a branded tote bag. Congratulations to this year's Focus Photography Awards winners! I hadn't entered anything that year, so I opened it without the usual stomach drop. My coffee was too hot to drink. My dog, Miso, was under the table making disappointed noises at a piece of toast I had refused to drop. I scrolled past a mountain elopement, a black and white dance floor blur, a bouquet toss that looked like a floral explosion. And then I stopped. The image filled my phone screen. A bride in satin sat at the end of a church pew, her veil twisted over one shoulder. Her father was beside her, face mostly out of frame because the moment wasn't about his face. It was about their hands. Her fingers had closed around his so tightly her knuckles had gone white, and his thumb was pressed over her ring finger like he was trying to keep her anchored to the earth. The background was messy. Programs on the pew, a crushed tissue, the hem of a bridesmaid's dress cutting through the corner. Warm June light flaring through a side window just enough to soften the chaos. I knew every flaw in that frame because I had defended it to Malcolm for 45 minutes in my studio. "Too messy," he'd said, leaning back in my desk chair. "The hand is good, but you're asking the viewer to forgive too much." I remembered zooming in on the bride's grip. I remembered saying, quietly enough that I thought only I heard it, "It's the weight of a hand." And there it was, in the newsletter, beneath the photo. The weight of a hand. Malcolm Rhodes' Documentary Wedding Photo of the Year. For a few seconds, my brain tried to rearrange the facts into an accident. Maybe he had taken a similar shot. Maybe we'd been standing shoulder to shoulder. Maybe I had borrowed his camera. Then my group chat started lighting up. Nina. Leah? Is this yours? Sam. Tell me I'm not insane. Jules. Congrats? Or murder? I put the phone face down. Then I picked it up again because putting it face down did not alter reality, which felt rude. Malcolm and I had worked together for 10 years. He had been the first photographer in town to take me seriously when I was 26 and charging too little for City Hall weddings. He taught me how to pin a boutonniere without stabbing a groom, how to find decent window light in hotel rooms decorated by committees, how to tell a drunk uncle no without making him your enemy for the next 6 hours. He also told me, more than once, you see the thing before people know they're doing it. Don't lose that. Mentorship is a dangerous word because it sounds clean. Ours was not clean. It was coffee in paper cups at 6 a.m., carrying each other's gear through sleet, borrowing flashes, covering each other when food poisoning or grief or life interfered. He shot second for me, I shot second for him. We argued over edits. We sent each other terrible vendor meals wrapped in napkins like field reports. I wanted there to be a mistake. I wanted that so badly, I almost called him. Instead, I stood up, walked past the client albums stacked by the printer, and opened the hall closet. Wedding photographers are not hoarders. We are archivists with anxiety. I dragged out the plastic bin labeled 2022 RAW and found the Verity Haas drive in under a minute because I am chaotic in many areas of life, but not in file management. The folder structure was exactly where it should have been. 2022-06-18 Verity Haas RAW, Leah primary,
Malcolm, second, called exports. I opened Leah primary and filtered by time. The winning image was there at 7:45:12. File name, LMC 061822 7843.nef. The M was my middle initial, Marie, from when I thought a monogram sounded more professional than my work did. I opened it in Photo Mechanic, then Lightroom, then Nikon's Viewer, as if 3 programs might disagree out of politeness. They did not. Camera, Nikon D850. Serial number, 3059487. Owner name, L. Marchetti. Date, 2022-06-18. Time, 19:45:12. Lens, 70 to 200 mm f2.8. Focal length, 135 mm.
There are betrayals that arrive like a thrown glass, loud, obvious, wet. This one arrived like a spreadsheet cell changing color. Quiet, exact, undeniable. My camera, my file, his award. I took screenshots, not because I thought metadata would vanish from my own drive, but because documenting kept me from doing something less useful, like texting Malcolm a row of question marks and throwing my phone at the wall. Then I pulled up the Focus Winner page on my laptop. The image had been cropped slightly. The crushed tissue was gone. The programs remained. The caption was still there. The weight of a hand. I had never written that phrase publicly. I had whispered it in the chapel because sometimes I do that when a frame lands. It's embarrassing, but not felony embarrassing. A small habit, a way to teach my brain what it had seen. Malcolm had teased me for it before. "You narrate like a nature documentarian," he once said, while I photographed a flower girl glaring at a cupcake. "Rare frosting predator approaches," I said. He laughed so hard he missed her biting directly into the icing. At the Verity Haas wedding, he had been close enough to hear, close enough to remember, close enough to steal more than the photo. That was the detail that broke the accident theory. I searched my messages next. The thread came up from September, 3 months after the wedding. Malcolm. "Hey kid, can I use a couple Verity candids in my private portfolio deck? Not public site. Meeting with that planner in Oak Park. You got the good human stuff." Me. "Which ones?" Malcolm. "Father hand, flower girl under table, groom with grandma. I'll credit you if anything leaves the room. Just showing range/collab." Me. "Private deck only, sure. Please don't post. Couple hasn't approved blog yet." Malcolm. "Of course, I'm not a monster." I stared at that last line until the letters blurred. He had asked. That made my stomach twist. He knew the boundary because he had named it. Private deck, not public site. Credit if anything leaves the room. He had typed the rules of the room and then walked through the wall anyway.
Our contract was standard. Each photographer owned their own captures, cross-licensed for portfolio use. But third-party submissions, awards, galleries, publications required written sign-off from the shooter. Malcolm had written that clause himself after a former second claimed one of his ceremony shots for a contest. I took screenshots of the thread, exported the conversation, emailed it to myself, and put my phone in the drawer because it kept vibrating. The messages from friends had shifted from confusion to anger. "Nina, do you want me to call him?" Sam, "I will be normal, but only if instructed." Jules, "Screenshot everything before he deletes." I typed, "Already doing it. Please don't contact him." Then I added, "I mean it." Sam sent back a saluting emoji. I did not laugh, but I appreciated the effort. For the next hour, I built a folder on my desktop called focus_receipts, which felt petty and corporate and therefore stabilizing. Into it went the raw file screenshots, the EXIF export, the original NEF copied from the backup drive, the Focus Winner page saved as a PDF, screenshots of the newsletter and the text thread. I had enough to prove the winning image was mine. A sane person might have stopped there and filed the complaint immediately. I am a wedding photographer. We do not stop at one memory card if there might be another in the bag. Focus published past winners and finalists back to 2016. The website was clunky in the way expensive organizations often are, all elegant fonts and terrible search. I searched Malcolm's name. Too many results. Malcolm had always entered competitions. I had not. I hated the way awards made me feel 12 years old and desperate to be picked for dodgeball, except with better lighting. Malcolm said awards were marketing, not morality. Clients don't know what they're looking at, he told me once. A badge gives them permission to trust themselves. At the time, I thought that sounded cynical and practical. Later, it would sound like a confession wearing a blazer. The first image I recognized was from 2021, a grandmother asleep at a reception table, one hand still resting on the handle of her walker, party lights spotted across her silver hair. I had shot it at the Delgado wedding while Malcolm was outside photographing the couple under sparklers. I remembered because the DJ had played September twice, claiming the first time was for warm-up. The focus page credited Malcolm. I pulled my 2021 catalog. Delgado, reception. There it was. LMC-092521-4432.NEF. My D850, my serial number, my timestamp. I made a spreadsheet because grief likes a task. Columns, year, competition, category, image description, claimed photographer, original file, serial number, my role, public URL, notes. By lunch, the spreadsheet had 4 rows. By 4 o'clock, it had 7. 7 images over 4 years. 2 finalists, 3 honorable mentions, 1 category winner, and now the big one. All documentary candidates. All the kind of image Malcolm praised in my work and then critiqued into invisibility during culling. Too busy. Too sentimental. Almost there. Keep it for the couple, not the portfolio. The strangest part wasn't that he had stolen images he liked. It was that he had often taught me to doubt them first. At 5:12 p.m., Malcolm texted. Malcolm, you alive? People keep congratulating me like I saved a baby from a well. Drinks later? That was his tone. Casual, warm, annoyingly Malcolm. I typed, saw the newsletter. Congrats. Deleted it. I typed, we need to talk. Deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, buried in edits today. Rain check. He replied with a champagne emoji and, your loss. I'm insufferable right now. I put the phone down and pressed my palms into my eyes until little stars appeared. The next morning, I called Nina. Nina was a family photographer and the only person I trusted to be angry without becoming operationally reckless. She listened while I talked for 23 minutes, interrupting only once to say, I am writing down private deck only because that is going on your tombstone if you don't eat something. When I finished, she said, what do you want? It was such a practical question that I resented it. I want him to admit it. No, you want that in the movie version. In real life, what do you want? I looked at the spreadsheet. 7 rows. 7 small thefts dressed as accolades. I want the award corrected, I said. I want my name on my work. I don't want to sue him. I don't want a public bonfire. Good, she said. Bonfires are bad for metadata. That time I laughed. It came out cracked. File with focus, she said. Their ethics board exists for this. Give them clean evidence. No adjectives. Do not call him a thief in the complaint. He is a thief. Yes, and you are a professional with receipts. Be that person first. Before I filed, I did one thing that felt cowardly and necessary. I called the couple. Not the whole story, not yet. But Verity and Sam Haas had been kind to me, and the image was of Verity and her father. Their contract allowed me to use images in my portfolio with approval, but competition submission was separate permission, and I had never asked because I had not submitted it. Verity answered on the second ring, breathless, with a toddler yelling in the background. "This isn't urgent," I said quickly. "I just wanted to ask about an image from your wedding. Did Malcolm Rhodes ever contact you for permission to submit a photo from the reception to an award competition?" There was a pause. "Malcolm? Your Malcolm?" "My Malcolm." The phrase landed like a bruise. "No," she said. "Should he have?" "Yes." Another pause. Then the toddler shrieked something that sounded like banana crime. Verity lowered her voice. "Leah, what happened?" I told her enough. The award, the photo, the credit issue. I did not use the word theft. I said misattribution because Nina was in my head wearing sensible shoes. Verity was quiet. "That picture?" she said finally. "My dad keeps a print of it in his office." My throat tightened. "I'm sorry," I said. "Why are you sorry?" "Because it's your family. I hate that it's tangled up in this." She exhaled. "Then untangle it." That was Verity's choice. She could have asked me to drop it, to keep her wedding out of industry drama, to not make her father's hand part of a complaint. Instead, she said, "If they need me to confirm we hired you as primary and Malcolm didn't ask us, I'll do it. I don't want money. I just don't like people putting their name on things they didn't make." I wrote that down after we hung up. Not as evidence exactly, but as a spine. I drafted the complaint that afternoon. Plain and boring, which is the highest form of revenge when the truth is ugly. Dear Focus Photography Awards Ethics Committee, I am writing to dispute the attribution of the 2023 documentary wedding photo of the year, The Weight of a Hand, credited to Malcolm Rhodes. I am the photographer who captured the image. Attached, please find the original RAW file, EXIF data showing the camera serial number registered to L. Marchetti Photography LLC, the timestamp corresponding to the Verity Haas wedding where I was contracted as primary photographer, and a message thread in which Mr. Rhodes requested limited private portfolio use only. I stared at Mr. Rhodes for a long time. I had never called him that in my life. I attached only the winning image evidence at first. Clean, narrow, no adjectives. Then I added a second section, noting that I had identified additional focus-recognized images under Malcolm's name that appeared to match my raw files, with a spreadsheet available upon request. I did not send it. Instead, I slept badly, woke at 3:40 a.m., and opened Instagram like a fool. Malcolm had posted the winning image. A humble caption, naturally. Always grateful to the families who trust me with their most honest moments. Documentary work is about patience, presence, and respecting what is given. I sat in the dark, blue light on my face, and felt something colder than anger. Respecting what is given. There was a comment from a younger photographer named Tessa. "This is why I started shooting weddings. Unreal, Malcolm." Tessa had assisted Malcolm the previous year. Quiet, competent, always in black, with a habit of labeling batteries with tiny strips of blue tape. I had liked her. She had once saved a ceremony by finding the groom's missing vows in a rental van cup holder. Under her comment, Malcolm had replied, "Keep watching the edges. That's where the story lives." That line was mine too, but not in any provable way. Photographers share phrases like viruses. Still, it made my chest ache. I sent the complaint at 6:18 a.m., partly because that was the wedding date, and partly because if I waited until normal business hours, I might become sentimental. The automated reply came immediately. "Thank you for contacting Focus Awards Ethics Review. Please allow 10 to 15 business days." 10 to 15 business days is a hilarious amount of time to ask someone to live with their mentor's name on their photograph. On day 5, Focus emailed, a real person this time, Dana Llewellyn, Ethics Review Coordinator. She asked for the original RAW file via secure upload, proof of camera ownership, the full text thread in exportable format, and any contract or timeline documentation showing my role at the wedding. I had all of it. The camera registration was in my Nikon account. The wedding contract identified L. Marchetti Photography LLC as primary and Malcolm Rhodes as second shooter. The timeline from the planner listed me as lead photographer. I uploaded everything with the neatness of a woman trying not to scream. Then I attached the spreadsheet. Dana replied the next day. "We are expanding the review to include prior entries. Please do not contact the entrant regarding this matter while review is ongoing." I read that sentence 3 times and said aloud to my empty studio, "Gladly." The next receipt arrived from someone else. Tessa emailed me on day 8. Subject line, "I think I owe you something." "Hi, Leah. I saw the Focus announcement. I also saw you didn't comment or share it, which made me wonder if what I saw last year was what I thought it was. I worked for Malcolm from March to November. I left because I got a staff job, but also because some things felt wrong. He had me rename files in batches. Export JPEG, strip EXIF, rename for the portal. I saw the folder names, Leah Candids, Mina Extras, and Old Seconds. I asked once if the photographers knew. He said, it's portfolio use. Awards are portfolio. I told myself that covered it. I don't know if I believed that. I've been telling myself I didn't know enough to say something, but I knew enough to feel sick every time he submitted. "I'm sorry. Tessa." I had to sit down. There is a difference between knowing someone did a thing and seeing the shape of the machine they used to keep doing it. I wrote back carefully. I told her I had filed a formal attribution complaint. I told her she did not have to involve herself. I told her that if she chose to provide a statement, I would submit it only to Focus unless they required otherwise, and I would not post it publicly. She replied 20 minutes later. "I'll write it. Use my name if you have to. I should have said something then. I can say something now." That was Tessa's choice, not mine. Not revenge. A line she drew for herself. Her statement came as a PDF that evening, signed and dated. She described sitting at Malcolm's editing station, building submission sets while he dictated file titles. She described seeing him drag images from folders labeled by other photographers into a desktop folder called Focus_Doc Final. She described asking whether those photographers had approved the submissions. According to Tessa, Malcolm said, "They gave me portfolio use. Awards are portfolio." When she pushed back, he told her, "This industry runs on collaboration. Don't get precious." I recognize that tone. Not cruel. Worse, maybe. Reasonable. Educating. The voice of a person lowering the moral ceiling of a room 1 inch at a time until everyone inside is hunched over and calling it normal. I forwarded Tessa's statement to Dana with her permission. Then I finally cried. Not photogenic crying. No single tear on the cheek. I sat on the studio floor between a softbox and a box of sample albums and made the kind of sound that makes a dog leave the room out of respect. I was angry, yes, but under that was embarrassment so deep it felt physical. I had missed it. For years. I had handed him files, passwords, trust, language. I had let him sit beside me and tell me which of my images mattered. Or didn't. That was the hook under the skin. Maybe he had seen them better than I had. Maybe I had taken them but not known what they were worth until he put them in a frame called important. It was humiliating, and not entirely false. It is possible to be talented and dishonest. That was the lesson I kept rejecting because it offered no clean place to put my grief. On day 11, Malcolm came to my studio. I saw him through the glass door, one hand raised to knock, the other holding 2 coffees in a cardboard tray. For one stupid second, my body was glad to see him. Then I remembered the Focus page. I opened the door but did not step aside. "Hey," he said, smiling like he could charm the weather. "You've been impossible." "I'm working." I brought peace offerings. I didn't ask for peace. The smile shifted, not disappeared. Malcolm's face was too practiced for that. but something tightened around his eyes. "Can I come in?" "No." He looked past my shoulder into the studio, where we had spent so many long editing nights. His absence already seemed staged. "Leah." I hated my name in his mouth. "Did Focus contact you?" I asked. He blinked once. Then he said, "Ah."
Not, "What are you talking about?" Not, "There's been a mistake." Not horror, confusion, outrage. I almost thanked him for saving me from the last scraps of doubt. He set the coffees on the windowsill. One lid had L written on it. He still remembered my order. "I was going to tell you," he said. "No, you weren't." He winced, and that wince was the first honest thing I'd seen from him. It got away from me. 7 times? His face changed again. He knew then that I had more than the one image. The street behind him was doing normal morning things. A delivery truck idled. Someone laughed outside the bakery. A cyclist swore at a cab. It seemed obscene that the world did not pause for the sentence he said next. I needed the money. He said it to the windowsill, not to me. "The prize?" I asked. "And the bookings after. Speaking fees, workshops." He rubbed his forehead. "It all stacks." He looked older than 46 suddenly. Not dramatically older, just tired, in a way I had been too busy admiring him to notice. "After the divorce, I was underwater," he said. Then he listed it like an invoice he'd been rehearsing. The studio build-out, the contractor who took the deposit and vanished, lawyers who wanted retainers he didn't have, rent on 2 spaces after he'd already pretended the old brick studio closing was a choice. I could see the math on his face, and for the first time, I could also see that he hadn't done the math that included me. "I thought I'd catch up," he said. "1 image, then I'd pay it forward somehow." "Pay it forward," I repeated. He heard it too, how awful it sounded. "I'm not saying it was right." "That's generous." His jaw tightened. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Act like I'm some villain in a cape. You know me." "Yes," I said. "That's the problem." He looked down at the coffees. "I helped you build your business." "You did." "I sent you clients." "You did." "I taught you—" Do not finish that sentence like it's a receipt you can cash against mine. He flinched. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I could hear Miso barking upstairs at absolutely nothing. My brave idiot. Malcolm's voice lowered. "If Focus revokes this publicly, I'm done." I believed him. Not completely, maybe, but enough. His reputation had been thinning at the edges for a while. I knew he had closed the brick studio and called it streamlining. I knew he had started pushing workshops harder, using award badges on every slide. Desperation did not make him innocent. It made him human, which was less satisfying. "What are you asking me?" I said. "Withdraw the complaint. Let me decline the award quietly. I'll say there was a permissions issue. I'll credit you privately. I'll pay you the prize money." "How?" He looked away. "Exactly." "And the other 6? He said nothing. "That's the thing about getting away with something," I said. "It creates paperwork." His mouth twitched despite everything. Old reflex. Almost a laugh. Then his face crumpled in a way I had never seen. "I'm sorry," he said. "I believe you're sorry now," I said. "I don't know what to do with that." He nodded slowly. "So that's it?" "No." Focus decides what happens to their award. The evidence decides the rest. You sound like a lawyer. I sound like someone who learned from contracts and drunk groomsmen. He took a breath. Leah, please. There it was, the thing I had dreaded. Not his anger, his need. I looked at the man who had taught me where to stand during vows so I wouldn't block the mother of the bride. The man who once drove 3 hours to bring me a backup camera in a snowstorm. The man who had stolen my work and sold it back to the world as proof of his own soul. I won't post about you, I said. I won't make this uglier than the process requires, but I'm not withdrawing. He picked up the coffee tray. You should keep them, he said. I don't want coffee from you. He nodded like that was fair, because it was, and walked away. I watched him until he turned the corner. Then I locked the door and changed the alarm code. Focus took 26 days. During that time, I shot 2 weddings, delivered 3 galleries, rescheduled my dentist appointment again, and learned that grief can coexist with batch exporting. At one wedding, I caught myself looking for Malcolm by the DJ booth when the timeline slipped, because he was always good at smoothing chaos. He could make a planner laugh while fixing a boutonniere and finding a missing grandmother. Competence is a kind of intimacy. Losing it leaves logistical bruises. Dana called on a Thursday. I knew before she said anything, because ethics coordinators do not call to discuss fonts. Miss Marchetti, she said, the board has completed its review. I sat at my desk with a pen in my hand, though I had nothing to write on. We have determined that the winning image was improperly submitted and attributed. The award will be revoked from Mr. Rhodes. The corrected credit will name you as the photographer, pending your acceptance of the award. Additionally, based on the pattern of prior submissions and supporting statement, Mr. Rhodes will be barred from entering focus competitions for 3 years. Prior affected entries will be removed or corrected where appropriate. I closed my eyes. There was no explosion of triumph, no music, just a woman on the phone reading consequences from a document, and me realizing I had been holding my breath for almost a month. Do you consent to being named in the correction? Dana asked. That question undid me more than the decision. Consent. A small door opened from the right side. Yes, I said. I consent. The public statement will be factual. It will not include the supporting witness details. Good. We also want to make clear that accepting the corrected award is optional. I looked at the framed print on my wall from my first year in business. A rainy city hall kiss, slightly out of focus, beloved by the couple and by no one else. Malcolm had helped me hang it. I'll accept the credit, I said, not the trophy. Dana paused. May I ask why? Because it would look like his on my shelf. Because I don't want an object that entered my life through a lie. Because I am petty enough to imagine mailing it to him, and decent enough not to. I just want the record corrected, I said. The statement went live the next morning at 11:47. Focus Photography Awards has revoked the 2023 Documentary Wedding Photo of the Year award previously credited to Malcolm Rhodes after an ethics review determined the image was submitted without proper attribution. The photograph, the weight of a hand, was captured by Leah Marchetti of L. Marchetti Photography, LLC. We regret the error and have updated our records accordingly. They did not call him a thief. They did not mention his debt, his divorce, Tessa, the folders, the stripped metadata, the 7 rows in my spreadsheet. They did exactly what I had asked. They corrected the record. It was enough. It was not enough. My phone became a weather event. Congratulations, rage, questions, industry gossip wearing concern. I answered almost none of it. Nina came by with soup and sat on my studio floor while I pretended to sort memory cards. Do you feel better? She asked. No. Do you feel worse? Also no. Sounds about right. Tessa texted me that afternoon. I saw. Thank you for not naming me. I wrote back, thank you for choosing to say something. She replied, I waited too long. I typed 3 different responses before settling on, you didn't wait forever. Malcolm did not contact me. His website went down for maintenance 2 days later, then came back without the focus badges. His Instagram comments filled with speculation until he turned them off. I heard from a planner that he had canceled a workshop. I heard from another that he was still booking weddings, quieter ones, no big speeches. I did not ask. People wanted me to enjoy his fall. They sent screenshots I didn't request. One photographer I barely knew messaged, "Get his ass, queen," which made me close the app and stare at a houseplant for 5 full minutes. I had gotten the correction. I had not gotten back the version of myself who believed Malcolm's praise was uncomplicated. For a while, every edit became a trial. I would hover over a messy frame and hear his voice. Too raw, too busy. Keep it for the couple. Then another voice, worse because it was mine. Would he have entered this? That is the bruise nobody warns you about. When someone steals your eye, they don't just take images. They leave fingerprints on how you see. I stopped whispering captions for a while. It wasn't a decision. It just happened. I would lift the camera, catch the edge of a real thing, and silence myself before the words came. Superstitious, maybe. Protective. If I didn't name it, no one could take the name. In October, I booked a small elopement at the conservatory. Just 12 people and a judge who wore sneakers under his robe. The couple, Mara and June, were both librarians. Their entire timeline fit on one page. No wedding party, no DJ, no grand exit. They wanted photos that feel like breathing, which is the kind of client sentence that either means heaven or trouble. In their case, it meant heaven. I shot alone. Not because I wanted to prove something, because the room was small, the budget was honest, and I needed to remember what it felt like to rely on my own feet. Before the ceremony, Mara stood in a greenhouse prep room with fogged windows and a crooked mirror. June had sent over a note on cream paper, folded once. Mara held it in both hands, but her fingers were shaking so badly she couldn't open it. Take your time, I said. I'm fine, she said, in the voice of someone absolutely not fine. Her mother moved toward her, then stopped. A meaningful choice, small and generous. She let Mara have the moment instead of rescuing it. Mara laughed once, watery and embarrassed. My hands are being dramatic. I lifted the camera. The room was cluttered. A half-empty water bottle on the sill. Someone's tote bag slumped under a chair. A curling iron cord cutting an ugly line across the counter. Old me would have moved 3 things and missed it. Malcolm would have had an opinion. Focus would have had a category. Mara's thumbs pressed into the fold of the note. Her ring caught the greenhouse light. Her hands shook, and the paper shook with them, and for one breath, the whole room seemed to understand that love is not steadiness. It is choosing while trembling. I took the frame. Then, before I could stop myself, I whispered, "The courage of a shaky hand." I immediately felt stupid, pretentious, overwrought, exactly the kind of thing I'd told myself I'd stopped doing. I didn't write it down. I did let it stay in the room. Mara looked up. What? Nothing, I said. Just talking to the furniture. She smiled, and the moment passed, as moments are rude enough to do. That night, after backing up the cards to 2 drives and the cloud, after feeding miso and making tea I forgot to drink, I opened my notebook. Not the spreadsheet, not the complaint folder, my actual paper notebook, with coffee rings and bad pen tests and reminders like buy more AA batteries and never trust uplighting. I wrote the file number down,
LMC 10142411198.nef. Then I paused, because my hand was shaking a little too, and under photographer credit, I wrote my own name, Leah Marchetti. No award, no trophy, no one clapping in a hotel ballroom under rented chandeliers. Just ink on paper, a raw file on a drive, and a quiet room where, for the first time in months, the picture felt like mine before anyone else told me what it was worth.